So in the last session we completed up to purchase order creation. We created PO and we approved it. The PO status is open. Open means approved. In case of EBS you can see the status as approved, but in Fusion it is just a marked the status as a open in case of approved. Okay, now we'll go and create the receipt against that PO. So we can just go to home page. From
Good
here,
morning, Lakshman. Are you sharing the screen?
yes, already done.
Okay, I'm not able to see it.
If you have some issue, you can disconnect and connect again. Hope everyone can
Okay,
see the screen.
now I can see now. Thank you.
Yep, great, fine. So in the home, you can just find out one springboard icon called as inventory management. You can click on this directly, or else from the navigator also same you can see. You can just you can click on that task to navigate to inventory management related tasks. Here you could say inventory management. Click on any one of that icon or this link. So in the last session it was not opening since it was not synchronized within that time. So now we connected to Google US inventory. Okay, inventory code ID it is showing. So you can just go to task list, click on task list, and here we have a filter option. So inventory management, inventory related tasks, cycle counting, shipments, picking, receipts. You select the task list as a receipts, and if you want to create the receipt, sorry, click on receive expected shipments. Click on receive expected shipments. So this will allow us to create the receipt. What are the shipments we are expecting from supplier? So those you can create as a receipt. So we are expecting the shipments against which purchase order. PO number is 1. Give PO number here. Click on search. So against the PO we can receive the material. Select the PO and click on receive. So we given receipt routing method as a standard receipt, right? So we'll see that. So quantity, yes, only one. And after giving the quantity, so here if you look at the sub inventory, so it is not displaying any sub inventory. Reason, we selected receipt routing method as standard receipt. Now we are receiving to receiving area only, nothing but staging. Destination type is not receiving inventory. If it is inventory, you can select sub inventory. Since the destination type is receiving, you don't need to select sub inventory. So just click on create receipt. Now the next step is we have to move the material from staging to inventory. Okay, just say submit. Okay, receipt number is 2. Done. So now the next step is, normally in case of EBS, if you are going to follow receipt routing method as standard, first what we do, we create receipt. The second step is we'll perform receiving transaction, right? There are the two activities we perform. First we create receipt. After creating the receipt, we'll create the receiving transaction. Here equal to receiving transactions, they given the task name as put away receipts. It's equal to receiving transaction. Just click on put away receipts. To move the material from staging to targeted inventory, we can use it. So receipt number is 2, which you could see. Search. Select. Just click on put away. Nothing but moving the material from staging to targeted inventory. So only one sub inventory we have within the inventory organization. The same system is defaulting. Now simply you can say submit. Now you can go and check the on hand quantity. Done. So here we'll just let me refresh this. So go to inventory management, inventory. So here you could see manage item quantities. Task name is manage item quantities. And you provide your inventory name, then click on show. It will display how much on hand quantity is available. Only one quantity of the material we received just now. Okay, this is how just you can create the requisition that you can convert into purchase order. That purchase order, against the purchase order, you can create the receipt. Against based on the receipt routing method, you can perform the put away receipt. Finally, you can check the on hand quantity. If you want to create the manual purchase order, in this process we have seen how to create the purchase order by converting the requisition. Requisition we converted as a PO. Now we'll see how to create the manual purchase order. Just we'll go and create one manual PO and we'll proceed. So if you want to create manual purchase order, go to navigator. In the navigator under procurement, we have a task called as purchase orders. Click on purchase orders.
Lakshman,
Yeah, please.
the on-hand quantity on the previous screen, it was showing as no data. Shouldn't it have some on-hand quantity still since we did the put away?
So yes, put away means it will be like once you get into that inventory, then only it will get. But in the dashboard, it was not showing because it was not updated by the time. That is the reason. Okay, once you say like put away, then that would be the on-hand quantity which is available within your inventory. Otherwise, that would be available in the receiving.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So it was just not updated.
Yeah,
That's
it
why
was
it's
not
not
updated.
showing it on hand. Okay.
Yep. Fine. If you want to create the purchase order through manual process, here you have a task called as under orders. You have a create orders. Click on create orders. So you can select the document style, say purchase order, procurement BU, requisition BU, supplier. Select supplier information and default ship to location and click on create. It's manual purchase order creation. Now you can provide the rest of information here. The PO number is going to be 2 and the header information will be taken. And you can specify shipping method and other details here. So just you may select any one of the shipping method. And lines, we have to create the lines. So click on add lines. So goods line type we given in the setup itself as a goods. The system is defaulting. Here you can just search for item. Item we have a as a Google 1001. That is item number. Item name is description is Google item 1. That you can select system will default the description also. Categories by default it is marking as a miscellaneous. That is item definition time. You could see the default category as a miscellaneous system is picking. And quantity, how much quantity you can specify. What is the unit price? So $6,000. Then here we have a schedules for that. For the sales order, just you can have a schedules and you can have a distribution. Schedules like requested delivery or promised delivery date is tomorrow. They'll be delivering as the supplier promised, that you can select. Here it should show selection also. It is not showing. Okay, fine. Select it. Then go to distributions. So here nothing is mandatory. Once you save it, system will default the PO charge account. Save it. So add bill to location also. You can see PO charge account system is deriving based on our tab, PO tab we defined, right? So we're done with this and save it. If you want to verify the approvals whom it would be routed, you can click on manage approvals. Anyway, we set to auto approve. So directly you can click on submit. This PO will turn into approved status, nothing but open. Okay, done. Go to task list, say manage orders. Order number is 2. Search. You could see the status as a pending. So it may take some time to update. Meantime, you may just click on order number, just review that order information. Meantime, it will update the status to open as it is approved. Okay, done. You can refresh it. Once again, click on search. It may update the latest status against the order. Status is open. Okay, now what we'll do is, so this we created PO and we approved it. Now we created one purchase order. The number is 1, right? In the yesterday session we created, just go to that purchase order, search for it, PO number 1 which we created. If you see that PO status, you could see as a closed for receiving. That means against this purchase order we received material also. If you click on live,
Lakshman, I think your screen is in non-sync with your whatever you're just explaining. There is a delay between whatever I'm seeing and whatever you're saying.
I don't think so. Maybe issue from your end.
Can you ask others as well? I'm definitely not sure, but it's mine or someone else.
It's fine this side actually.
Yeah, you
It's
can
fine.
disconnect and connect again, Bogesh.
Yeah.
Please, because of internet connectivity only the issues will come. If bandwidth is low and some issues, you may find some lag between that. Fine. Yep. So here you could see this life cycle. Just you can click on this. It shows that information. What is the status of this sales purchase order? Whether material is received or not. See here, at least this PO1 fulfillment status delivered. Material is delivered. If it is received into staging, it will be showing. Okay, it's just received but not at delivered to the inventory. Here billing status is open to invoice. That means invoice is not created. Against this purchase order, we received material, delivery is happened, and it's not taken in. I mean, against this PO, invoice is not created. This is how you could see the information. So now we'll switch to payables and we'll create invoice against this document.
Lakshman,
Yeah, please.
One question here. So the PO status become open once the PO is approved.
Up-
So in case we have multiple people who need to approve one PO, in that case, like in EVS, we could see the status would be open and we can see where
no, no.
the approval who has approved and where it's stuck now.
It will show in progress. Like if multiple people are in the queue or to approve it, till the time
Okay.
you want to update the status as open. Here, open means approved. If not yet submitted for approval means it will be showing. I mean, it will be showing as a just it's create a new, and once you submit, it will be showing in progress, or else still it will get updated. It will be showing in pending for approval. Already
Okay.
few members are approved. It's in the approval chain whatever you defined, however you configured. It will be showing in progress. And you can click on the status who approved, who is the next approver, and all that information by clicking on manage approval. There was some tab, right, which you are testing,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
If you click on that, it will show that entire approvers. So at what level that approvals are completed, still how many levels are pending to approve. That's how you could see.
Okay. Thank you.
Fine, thanks. So go to invoice creation, and you can provide the PO number. We have a PO number 1 and 2. We'll just go with the PO number 1. Search, you can filter with the supplier name. Supplier is Google. Purchase order, say okay. System will default to BU supplier and other details, and you can enter the invoice number. So invoice amount is $5,000. Anyway, system will create the lines, right? And here is the option, match invoice lines. So you have to click on go. Okay. So then system will display the PO related information, the unit price and item details and all. You can just select match. So PO level we given just it's all about matching, two-way matching. That is the reason it's matching with the PO. If you provide a three-way matching, it will derive the receipt also. Here we have a receipt information. If you have a, like, if you specify three-way matching, it will just it will be asking for receipt specification, so it can be matched with a receipt received quantity also. Here only with PO. So click on match and say apply. Now system will create the invoice lines based on this PO information. Created lines. The rest of process remains same. Just will validate. Sorry, I think here line amount is 6,000. Here invoice header level we enter. So that is the reason system create a line variance. So you can correct to 6. So this is the use of matching, right? Now again you can submit for validation, and you can just account it. What should I do? So this is how we can process you can create the invoice through matching process. Okay. So that's all about receipt creation, checking on hand quantity, invoice creation through matching. So that's all about P2P cycle. Okay, the basic setups. These are the basic setups which we've gone through. Okay, I'll be
Lakshman,
sharing.
good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Yeah, Lakshman, actually, is there no ERS in Fusion?
Yes, we
This
have. Supplier level, just you go and set that option as a
yeah,
ER,
understand.
ERS. pay and receipt. Okay, the source name is
Yeah,
ERS,
beyond the
right? Pay and receipt you set to
yeah,
yes. And you just create receipt, so that system will trigger the ERS process to create the invoice.
automatically.
Yes, we have that functionality.
Or we have to submit
No need
concurrent.
to submit in no environment. You have to submit, right? It's automation. Even in EBS also, we
Yeah,
don't submit anything. Once you create receipt, it will for the receipt. See what happens. We supplier level we set that option pay and receipt. Whenever you create the PO, system will be marking that PO is falls under pay and receipt. And once you create the receipt, it will be defaulting that option as a pay and receipt. Since for PO level pay and receipt is applicable for receipt creation time, automatically system trigger the process called as the ERS. With ERS source, it will run that
where it is.
process. It will create same how it works in EBS. Same process we could see here. Because our
Thank
focus
you.
is not SCM side, so that is the reason I am not touching all those. So I'm just taking it through the basic cycle. But for information, yes, the same function we have as is.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So I'll be sharing this sheet also, the spreadsheet which you are using for classes. You can just refer it and you can may practice or you can go through it. Okay, the sheet I'll be sharing, you can go through it. So related to tables also I'll be sharing. Just you can go through it. I'll be placing in the Google Drive. You can just go through it. Fine, that.
Uh,
Yeah, please.
Lakshman, the other day you had mentioned you will show quotations.
I'm sorry, your voice is very low.
Sorry, the other day you had mentioned you will show how to create
Again,
quotations.
same, please. If possible, could you please make some adjustment to your volume?
Quotations.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Lakshman, I think he is asking the other day you mentioned you will show how to create quotations. I think that's what he's talking about.
What is that? Other day?
You mentioned that you will show how to create quotations.
Oh, I
I think
never
that's what
mentioned
he's saying.
I'll show as I'll create quotations. I think he asked, can you create quotations? I said yes, you can create it.
If I understand correctly, that's what he's
Yeah,
saying.
I got it. Since you are passing that message to me, I'm just replying to that. So I didn't promise on quotations and all. It's a core procurement process. Okay, we are we are not going to do all those things as a part of finance. So whatever we just discussed in the initial classes as per course content, this is what I mentioned. I'm just executing without ignoring. Okay, fine, done. Now we can start with the receivables. We'll see the basic configuration which is required for receivables. When you talk about receivables, what are the setups we do in case of EBS? Same setups we have to execute. When we are working on the process, slightly user interface and all, you could see some changes. Otherwise, setups wise, everything remains same. Only in case of when you create the customers, so we have to create the RDS, or else we can use the RDS called as enterprise. We'll see anyway. So we can start with the system configuration for receivables. So first we have to set up the system options. Okay, first we have to set up the system options. So go to implementation project, setup and maintenance. Sorry, go to manage implementation projects. So open the project, search for the task called as system options, receivable system options. Fine, directly you can search for system options. We could see it is manage receivable system options. So manage receivable system options. Click on go to task icon. So here we have to click on create. We are not going to find out existing system options. So far we didn't create. So click on create. For which business unit we want to set the system options, that you can select here. So here we could see only few business units. The reason, only for this business unit, the business function called as the billing and customer payments are enabled. The business functions BU level we enable. Based on that only the BU would be available for setup. Anyway, for our business unit, we enabled all the business functions. It should be available in any application. So our BU name is Google US Business Unit, and set the default parameters which you could see here as a part of system options. So split amount and all not required. Just set application rule set. You can select any one of the value here. Say prorate all, and discount basis invoice amount based discount should be calculated, and provide these mandatory accounts: tax account, cross currency rounding account, retained realized gain loss accounts. Just provide all these accounts. So company, department. So tax account, you may just select sales tax account or any other account just to fill this field. Sales tax. Search for tax. Go with advanced search. Select the criteria as it contains. Search for tax. Oh, we have very limited values within this. No issues. You can select any one of the tax value just to fill these code combinations. Don't need to do much with this. Say OK. So here there is no validation which account we are selecting and all. No issues with the same account code combination. You can fill other mandatory accounts fields. So one of the value you can select here. You can just map item validation organization. If you select item validation organization here, within this inventory organization you can access the items when you create the transactions within the receivables. Okay, Google item master inventory. You can specify. You just verify any other fields are mandatory here. So memory, log, message level, you can specify anything. And the grouping rule you can set a default. So this is all you could see in your case of EBS when you set the system options. So same. And other tab is cash processing tab. We have just everything. They are just organized all the setups with the two tabs. In case of EBS, we can see under multiple tabs all these options. Here only mandatory field is chargeback due date, which should be defaulted. So when you do the chargeback, we'll be selecting the with which due date, which date chargeback need to be created. So here you can set any one of the option, and you will be changing as per the requirement. So invoice per commitment amount you can enter to just to complete it. So done. These are the basic information we have to provide to complete the system option setup. Depending on the feature which we'll be testing, will come back to the system options and we'll be setting the relevant controls or defaults. Okay, just as a part of basic configuration, we are providing the very basic information within the system options. We just done with the basic details, and now we'll go and create the transaction types. So search for transaction types. So whatever we are doing, those we do in EBS also, same, there is no difference. Compare. So manage transaction types, click on go to task icon. Here for transaction types we use reference data set. We'll see that. Click on create. So transaction type set, nothing but reference data set. So you can use the common set. select and say OK. And the transaction type level legal entity is not mandatory, you can ignore it. Here you can write the transaction type name as a Google invoice transaction type. Transaction class is invoice. Transaction status set to open so that we can use it. Creation sign is positive sign, since invoice positive sign. And in case of EBS, when you create transaction type, you could see one option as a print option, print do not print. So that they given as a generate bill on bill. If you set generate bill as yes, that means you can print this, you can print the transaction which you create with this transaction type. That is the meaning of this. It's a print option, print option yes or no. Here you can specify as a generate bill. The field name they change it, that's all. And apart from that, okay, we done with this information. And anyway, open receivables, post to GL, everything is system is defaulting. Now this transaction type you have to assign to business unit. So in case of EBS, when you create here itself, you can see operating in it. On top, like you'll be system will be defaulting that information. But here you have to assign. That means one transaction type can be assigned to multiple business units also. Click on assign, select BU name, search for BU. Here when you search, by default system will take the criteria as a name is equals. That is the reason you have to provide the full name, exact name, then only you can search, or else you can change the search criteria to start with, then you can give the term called as Google search. Say OK. Done. If you want to derive the auto accounting from transaction type, you may provide accounts here, or else we can set directly constant values. In our case, we set constant. Done. If you want to assign the same transaction type to other business unit, click on this and same process you can follow. Now we create a transaction type for invoice. Now click on this drop down. Say save and create another. Any question?
Yeah, Lakshman, can you elaborate on the transaction type set? I'm not sure what that means.
You don't know in EBS what is the meaning of transaction type?
Yes.
Oh,
So in EBS, when we're creating AR invoice, we select the transaction types. Like,
select not. Before that, we create transaction type. See,
right. Yes.
all comes under very basic things. But since you have a question, see,
Yes.
the transaction type will control the process of the transaction. How you want to create a transaction? The transaction need to be created against which class of the transaction, whether you want to create debit memo transaction or credit memo transaction, or these specifications you can do. Here we are specifying the transaction we want to create as a chargeback or credit memo, debit memo, or invoice. And again, when you create the transaction, within the transaction, which amount you can enter, positive amount or negative amount or any sign. It should allow which sign of the amounts, and whether that can be printed or not. If you create the transaction, whether that will update the customer balances or not, you can specify. The what are the transaction you create, the transactions you want to transfer to GL or not. Okay, again the transaction you can create against which business unit. These all are the controls. To define the process of transaction, we have to create the transaction type. Without transaction type, you cannot create any transaction in the receivables. Okay, natural application means if you create any transaction with this transaction type, so you can create the receipt up to transaction amount only. That we call as natural applications. Okay, if you disable it, it will just you can enable allow over application. That means you can have transactions with 10,000 receipt can be applied more than 10,000 also on the transaction. So these are the different controls which you have to understand. If you enable allow freight, when you create the transaction with this transaction type, system will open the field to enter freight amount also within the transaction. So no different definition meaning in the fusion, same what you could see in EBS. When you create the transactions with this transaction type, if you want to default payment terms, you can set the payment terms here. Okay. So that is the meaning of transaction type. It will have a controls when you create the transaction. So it will define the controls we can define the controls with the transaction type. By using the transaction type, when you create the transaction, the same will be applicable in the process of transaction. Hope this is clear to you.
Yeah, actually my question is the transaction type set. That field, transaction type set.
That's what I said, like it's a reference data set. When we landed on that page, just I was telling that, right? Reference data set. What we selected value common. Clear or not? Reference data set. Do you remember we discussed in the payables?
Yes. Right. It's
Yeah,
reference
same,
data set.
same. Wherever you see the set, that is a reference data set only.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. That's all. So now we'll go and create the transaction type for other transactions also. So debit memo and credit memo. Select common reference data set, and you can give the name as Google debit memo. Transaction class is debit memo. Status is open, positive sign. We know like a debit memo in payables we use positive sign. It's equal to invoice transaction. So you want to print or not? Yes, you want to print it. Assign this transaction type to specific business unit. So from that business unit you can create the transactions with this transaction type. Say okay. Click on save and create another. Select same reference data set, common set. Name is Google credit memo. Use the same name as a description. Transaction class is credit memo. Transaction status is open. So since it's a credit memo, it's a negative sign, right? So credit memo we have to keep in the negative sign. And if the billing is required or not, printing is not required or not, that you can specify. This you can assign to your business unit. Say okay, and again just say save and create another. Here we'll create the transaction type for chargeback. Google chargeback. Chargeback. So you don't see any deposit and guarantee. We don't have deposit and guarantee transaction types in receivables as of now. Those may come in the next releases. Fine. So chargeback, it should be positive sign. If you want to print, set as a billing to yes, and this you can assign to our business unit. Done. So save and close. We created transaction types. Now when you create the transaction, we use this transaction type to generate the numbering for these transaction types. We have to set transaction sources. Just let us mark the status as a done. So now we have to go and create the transaction sources, which will generate the numbering for the transactions when you create the transaction by using those types. The task name is manage transaction sources. Click on create. Here also reference dataset is applicable. So just go with a common. And here you can select legal entity information. Or else ignore it, no issues, just it's not mandatory here. So name is Google invoice transaction source. Provide description. The source type is manual. When you work on auto invoice concept, we'll create have a imported source. Now for now it's manual only. We are going to create the transaction through manual process. And last transaction number. So reality, the field name they given as the last transaction number. The function how they given, the name they given, based on that what we should understand is it is a next transaction number. One I am giving. Here last transaction number field name they given, but reality the functionality wise it will work. If I give one, it will start taking from one. That means this field name should be next transaction number. So the whenever we create the transaction, system should start the number from one for which transaction type, that you have to select here. So when you create the transaction by using Google invoice transaction type, system should start triggering the number from one. This is how we can specify and say save and create another. We'll create the transaction source for debit and credit memos. Select our LE. Name is Google debit memo. Select from date. So number, any number you can set, from which number system has to start this. Select Google debit memo. Transaction type. So save and create another. Google credit memo. Then say save and close. We don't need to create any transaction source for chargeback. System uses predefined source. So even if you create, you cannot use. That's all. For these three transaction types, we can create the transaction sources. We're done with the transaction source definition also. Now we'll go and set up auto accounting. So we'll have to define the auto accounting rules. Here we have a task called as manage auto accounting rules. Click on go to task icon. Now just to start with the process, as a very basic, two rules we have to set. Those for two accounts, receivable account and revenue account. We'll set as of now for just receivables and revenue. Going forward, we'll be working on the different scenarios. We'll be working on revenue recognition and other concepts. So whenever those additional auto accounting rules are required, we'll set it up. For now, just for account receivable account and revenue account, for these two account types we can set auto accounting. Just click on create. Select our business unit, Google US business unit. Select account type as receivable. Okay, so we can select the constant values, or else you can select here. In case of EBS, you see table based, right? Here they given as a value source, same. So you can set, you can derive from transaction type, sales person, sales rep, or customer side. If you deal with the account type called as revenue, even you could see standard memo lines, same as EBS. So select department, which should be defaulted. The account, select account receivable account. Search for accounts receivable. Search. Semester receivables we don't have. Okay, semester receivable account we don't have. We can just select in any one of the alternate account, or better you can go on to add it. Chart of accounts, value sets. I think here we have Google account. We are not using corporate account value set, right? So that is the reason within this we don't have accounts. So we'll search from here also. Account receivable we have it is enabled. Why it was not coming here? We didn't create it right. Say cancel. So receivable. Go to account. You're showing 13005. 13005. We have that account over there. Why is it not showing? No, we don't have anything. Seems to qualifiers are missing in this. What's wrong with this? 1 second.
Next, what was the Google account, right? Not from Google.
Sorry?
Ours was Google account, right? We named it like Google account. Did we name it account Google?
No, this is loaded through wrapped implementation spreadsheet. Chart of accounts, structures. We'll go on to verify. corporate account. Okay, in our instance level we have corporate account. Fine. So the values we are getting from corporate account. So just click on manage values. You can search for accounts receivable account. Yes, we have somebody disabled. See, fine. We can enable this. So save and close. Okay, just we'll refresh this page and we'll try. It should come. So Google implementation project, search for auto accounting rules. So manage auto accounting rules. Click on go to task icon. Just click on create. So account type is receivable. Select constant values 1000. Department, any one of the department. Account is accounts receivable account. Here is that account. Project, you can pick any one of the value as a default. So we created for receivables. We'll create auto accounting for one more account type called as revenue. For rest of all we'll be creating based on the concept. In case of revenue recognition, we'll define for unbilled receivables, and when we work on the auto accounting we have to set for all. Okay, for now, so we just done for receivable. Then click on create another. Select revenue account type. Select company, department. Search for any one of the revenue account to set as a default. Contains revenue. There should be many accounts with revenue. So, training. Accounts also somebody disabled seems to. So what we'll do is, okay, we'll go and see any revenue accounts. We can use any one of the account, no issues. just treat this as a revenue account, but not revenue. Since in the corporate account, somebody disabled the accounts. That's the reason it's not coming. Otherwise, we have as a part of operations, we have many accounts. Okay, else we'll go and enable on revenue account and we'll pick that value here. So say chart of accounts, value sets, search for corporate account value set. Click on manage values. Here you can search for any one of the revenue accounts. I guess we have a revenue account called as training. No, just revenue. We have many revenue accounts, but all are disabled. And just revenue domestic I'm enabling. Domestic revenue. I will try to access if we can get okay, or else we'll refresh and do it. What we have here. So start with. Say done. So these two account types, the auto accounting rule would be enough as of now. We can start with the transaction. Going forward, we'll be adding the remaining account types. Anyway, those will become mandatory when we test auto accounting. Sorry, auto invoice. Say save and close. Okay, we're done with this. We'll go and create the payment term statement cycle collector by grouping this information and other details. We'll create the customer profile class. Create payment terms. Search for payment. Here we have a task called as manage receivables payment terms. Click on go to task icon. So select reference data set. You can go with the common set. Name we can say Google immediate or net, anything you can take here, any one of the payment term. And discount basis, invoice amount, installment option, say include tax and freight in the first installment itself. And here you can specify the days. Click on this row. Since immediate, now how many days customer has to pay? Within 0 days. The same way you can create multiple payment terms as we required. So save and close. Now we can create the statement cycle. How often we want to send the statements to customers. Search for the task called as statement cycles. Manage statement cycles. Click on create. Give the name as Google monthly statement. Interval is monthly. Description you can write as Google monthly statement. So month frequency, we want to send the statements. The cycle dates we can specify, which BU. Google US business unit, the statement date. So every month end we want to generate. So 1 second, it's not picking. Then just I used enter, it is taking. So this is how just you can list out the cycle dates in which month and which date you want to generate the statement for specific BU. Sorry.
Lakshman,
Yep.
what is the advantage of doing this? Like in EBS, I don't believe we have statement.
We
We
have
don't
as is.
dates. We don't define dates, right?
We have same in EBS also. So this is not new in Fusion. Even EBS also you do define it. By following that, you can run the statements. You can generate the statement. This you can use as some predefined schedule, and you can run this. You can generate the statements on these dates. If you don't want to generate any statement, you can mark that as a skip for that particular month. We have as is in EBS. You may cross check. Okay. In any month, if you don't want to generate statement, you can just say skip. That's how your system won't allow you to run the statements on these dates. Just say save and close. Now we can create the collector. Say collectors. So task name is manage collectors. Just click on define collectors. Within this, you can find the task called as manage collectors. Let me write as manage. So task name is manage collectors. Create same person as a collector. Or without person, just you can. So here is the task manage collectors. Just click on add. Here the name you can give as Google collector. So employee, you can select the person name. It's enabled. Select reference data set as a common set. Done. So save and close. Now by grouping these collector, statement cycle, payment terms and other details, we can create the customer profile class. Search for customer profile class. So task name is manage receivables customer profile classes. Click on the tasks, then click on go to task icon. So create. So we can give the profile class name as, see, same as EBS, we can find one seeded profile class called as default. In EBS also we can see is seeded profile class called as default. In Fusion also you can find the same. Okay, so here we can give the name as Google standard profile class. Select collector information, which is mandatory. Select payment terms. Select statement cycle. So say save and close as a basic definition. When you test balance for billing and all, again we'll come back to this and we'll enable relevant options, other scenarios also. So we created payment terms, we created statement cycle, we created collector. By grouping all, we created a customer profile class. So now we'll go and create the customer. When you create the customer, so customer site definition time, we have to select reference data set, but common we cannot use. In fresh instance, we can have only two reference data sets. Those are enterprise and common. Common we cannot use for customer definition. So normally we create the reference data set, BU specific, that we use it. Otherwise you may use enterprise also. Okay, first we'll go and create separate reference data set for our customer site for specific BU. Then by using that we'll go and create the customer. The same we have to assign to business unit. We'll see that process. First, we'll go and create the reference data set for customer site definition purpose. Okay, this is just for information. In first instance, also you can have two, common and enterprise. Go to reference data set definition page. Search for reference data sets. Okay, manage reference data sets. Click on go to task icon. Click on create and give the name as Google US BU customer site. Here you can write Google USBU customer set, you can say, means US business unit. If you create any customer, this is set you will be using, which would be specific for your BU. Here also you can write as a customer set. So common we cannot use, that is the reason we are creating separate reference data set. If you want to use enterprise, you can use it. So save and close. Now the same reference data set we have to assign at BU level. Okay, so you have to say assign business unit set assignments. Set assignments. Business unit set assignments. Okay, business unit set assignment. So click on manage business unit set assignment. So what are the reference data set we created that we have to assign to BU at reference data object level? So manage business unit set assignments. Click on go to task icon. And here you can find one reference data object called as customer account site. This is the one. For customer account site, if you keep reference data set as a common, it won't work. You should select common, enterprise or separate one. Anyway, we created our own that you have to select here.
Lakshman, is there a specific reason why?
Because normally we maintain the customers customer sites should be specific to BUs. That is the reason to organize sites BU wise separately. They given the separate reference data set definition instead of using the common. Okay, common will combine everything, but sites need to be maintained separately. When you talk about supplier sites, we don't have any reference data concept, but here they given, so it's a grouping purpose. You can use it. It's not opening this field. We can open in the different browser. It's not opening. Browser specific issue. We'll go with a different browser.
Lakshman, generally, which browser is recommended?
Mozilla only. Mozilla is recommended, but it's not opening. I guess maybe somebody is using the same function in the same instance, same time. That's what I'm.
Okay.
But still, I'm just trying from different browser. The recommended browser is Mozilla.
Okay.
Yep. Business unit set assignments. Yeah, here the fields are opening. Maybe like somebody is using same time, or else sometimes browser specific issue. Place cursor here. Switch to whatever we defined. Select we created as a Google, right? So search for it. So whatever we create and whatever we are assigning at BU level, the same you have to select in the customer site creation time. Otherwise everything won't sync and you cannot create the transactions. Remember? So create one reference data set, assign at BU level, use the same at your supplier site level also, supplier account creation type. Okay, if you keep here common, it won't work. Done. So that's what I mentioned here. We created reference data set that we assign to our BU. Now we'll go and create the customer. For customer creation, we don't require any additional roles. A customer can be created from project itself. So from the project, you can search for the customer, create customer. Task name is create customer. Click on go to task icon. You can give the customer name as Google customer 1. So system is taking the account number, and here account address set. Here we have to select the same reference data set which we assign to our BU. It's very important. Otherwise you can select any one of the reference data set you can create, but you cannot create the transactions if the reference data set is not matching which we have in the supply customer definition time and BU level. So here you have to search for Google. The same you have to select. So ideally we just maintain one reference address at BU wise for customers definitions. Okay, done. So the format is somewhat disturbed. Okay, so these fields should be here. It is just coming this side anyway. Just will enter that information. Google site, Google address. You can see that address is completely optional, but just provide address. If you don't provide address here, there are some cases where you just say, for example, if you try to do the customer refunds, if you have incomplete address, you cannot perform the customer refunds. It won't display the address. Even if you have incomplete address, it will allow you to create the transactions, the receivables. You will have an issue when you perform the customer refunds. That is the reason. Just make sure that even you address definition is optional, means all fields are optional. Provide complete information. If you don't provide, you can create the transactions with the basic address definition, but customer refund time, this address system won't display. Fine. Set purpose for this address. You can set ship to and bill to. So this address for bill to as well as ship to also. Click on add ship to map. So we created a customer. Now we have to assign the customer profile class to this customer. What are the profile class we created that we can assign? Now search for the customer. It will show as a 3 records: customer, header, account, and site. Search. Okay, customer record, customer account, system created, customer sites. Now click on customer account number to override the profile class. Click on customer account. Go to profile history. Here you can see which profile class system is defaulting. Default. The same happens in ABS also. Now if you want to override this profile class, go to actions, say correct record. The below fields it will open. Now change here. Google standard, the same will be updated here. Yes, changed. So save and close. The same we have to repeat at site level also. Click on site number. Go to profile history. Click on create site profile. System will copy from account to site. It's copied. Done. This is what we have to do. So we created customer definition. Customer we created. Customer site or address we created. Now we'll go and create the remit2 address to specify where customers has to send the payment, which is supplier address or address when you treat we are dealing the receivables. So search for remit2 address. So manage remit2 addresses. Click on go to task icon. Say create. So here also we have to use the reference data set. We can use the common. So remit2 address is Google US address, any address you can enter. So select postal code.
Lakshman, one small question here.
Please.
So this is the only way to create customers using FSM, like setup manager, or some responsibility where you have create customer.
We don't have responsibility concept here, right? It's that is a
Yeah, I mean just
no. I'm coming to that point.
your job roles or whatever we call the term. I'm not worried about terminology. I'm
Okay.
worried about the concept.
See, customer you can create from FSM. That is one option. Otherwise, you can load through spreadsheet. That anyway we are going to cover as a part of conversions. Two
You don't have some separate role for
no,
dealing with the customers, like give
no,
the
no,
users privilege to create a customer and sites.
no. We don't have any separate role. That's what I was talking about. For supplier we have. For customer we don't have. Directly they given as a part of FSM itself.
Okay.
Yeah, fine. So we just create a remit to address. Say save and close. And you may specify to this address will receive the payments from which countries customers, that you can specify. Here we created remit address for United States that you can search. So this is the remit address we created. You select and search, you can find it. These are here is the one which we created, Google US Texas. So to this location, this is the place where we receive the payments. To this location from which country customers we receive the payment, that you can specify as a receipt from criteria. Click on add. So we receive the payments from US only or from different countries also. If you want to see the state, rest of information you can specify but not mandatory. This combination is already used. You can figure out. Can you please mute from your end? I could hear some background noise from someone. Let me do it. Fine. So just we create a remit address, so which is required when you create the transaction, right? So we're done with this task. So rest of setups will complete in the tomorrow session. Tomorrow itself you can start with the transaction process also. So memo lines, once we're done with the memo lines, rest of setups are related to this receipt, receivable activities, receipt class method. Then we'll assign the AR related roles to user. We will map the BU access to AR roles. We'll run LDAP and we'll open the receivables periods. So in tomorrow session we can complete these tasks and we'll see how to create the transaction and do receipt. If time permits, we'll go with some other activities also. I'll just list out all the topics which we are going to cover as I mentioned in the course content. So any questions from today's session, please?
Can you please share yesterday
Sorry?
video? Can you please share yesterday video?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Just I think yesterday one I didn't upload. I'll do that. I'll do that along with the today one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
And
Yeah,
Lakshman,
Yeah, please.
Lakshman, I would like to talk to you for a couple of minutes after the session. We have time today.
Yeah, Ram. Yes. We'll give you a call. Ram.
Sure. Okay.
Lakshman, I have also purchased EBS R12 course, and I sent some questions in the email like about 2 weeks ago. So I'm just waiting for the response on that.
Oh, you sent some questions.
Yeah, it's about 2 weeks or more.
I could see all the time your name as attendee 10 and all. Really, I'm not recognizing with your name. So what's your name so that I can check it?
Yeah, Ritu, and I also contacted the team and informed them
I'll check
about the
it.
same.
I'll check it once. If I can just revert back to that through email, okay, or else we'll have a call. We'll discuss on those questions if
Yeah,
required.
that would be appreciated. We can have a quick call.
Questions are simple to reply with just simple information. I'll revert back to you through email only. Otherwise, we'll schedule the call and we can discuss.
Yeah, if you like, I can provide you my email. I have already given it to the team.
Okay, yes, yes. I'll take from them. You said your name is Ritu, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'll get from them. Fine.
Lakshman, for the customer tables, it is the same HZ parties, party site, cust accounts, cust
Yes,
account
yes.
sites.
Yeah, we have same TCA architecture here also. The same.
Okay, and yeah, and Lakshman, can you call me as well when you have time today?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. So Suresh speaking, right?
Lakshman, one last question. Where you shown the have shown the creation of customers. I didn't see contacts over there. Is there separate navigation for the contacts on the supplier sites?
No, you have
Sorry, customer sites.
customer, like you have a tab called as contacts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you
You
have
have
just check it once. You have a tab, separate tab for that.
okay, fine.
Yeah. Okay. So fine. If you don't have any questions, yeah, please.
Let's have a question. So the list of all the configuration items here,
Yeah.
is it everything we need, or these are the only mandatory setup items?
These are only mandatory, and the rest of setups only required based on the which functionality you are going to use.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I'll be sharing this sheet also. I'll place in the Google Drive so that you can just go through it. These are the basic setups to run the process cycle in the tables. This is the basic configuration which is required.
Okay,
Um,
thanks.
Yeah.
Lakshman, if we are taking foreign currency payments from customer, how does that work here?
We'll see that we have that concept also. Foreign currency, like cross currency payments also we can do it. The foreign currency transfer simply you can have it like you can set the conversion and you can do it. And even we are going to test cross currency receipts also where you have transaction one currency, customer payment in the different currency. We'll see that once we get into that transaction part that we can understand. Okay. So now we are part of setups, so that completely falls under transaction process. Once we get into the process, we'll see. Fine. So then that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow and we'll continue from here. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night.